All right, ladies and gentlemen on YouTube, we are live once again. We have a very special guest in the studio today via Skype, Job from ATV. His channel is on fire right now. He's pushing 12 million video views and 65,000 subscribers. So, Job, welcome to the show. So, first question, how long have you been on YouTube for now?
We're going a little over 3.5 years, somewhere around there.
So, in a very short period of time, you've had a lot of success. Like, at what point, where did that channel just all of a sudden take off?
Appreciate that, Jared. Uh, Jumpins, I don't know. It just, like anybody, it's a grind for such a long time, right? Like, we've had our most success over the last year, I guess, is the real jump, right? The first 2 years is just putting the work in to get recognized. I don't know even if it's just giving Google the heads up that, yeah, we're worthy of recommending your content, right? Because that's where the major views come into play into YouTube is if they recommend your content, you're successful. If they don't, no one sees you. You get buried, right? So
Yeah.
last year, I think things really started to take off. Obviously, utilizing the purchase of the new Renegade was a great help. The 2018 Renegade. So I guess just a little over a year ago when I grabbed that, it definitely helped boost our view numbers for sure.
So, you started the channel on the King Quad?
Yeah, a little 450 King Quad. The boys were into it prior to me, about NOS ATVs and such, and my brother was a big part of that. So it was kind of just to get back out with the guys to get back into the hobby of ATVing again because I'd been away from it for so long, and I thought let's get an entry level ATV, see if we're into it still, and so we started with a little 450 King Quad, and it wasn't long before my brother opened my eyes that there's all kinds of things you can do to them. So we lifted it up a little bit, put some big tires on it, snorkeled it up, and it was keeping up with the big boys, man. It was fun. It was a lot of fun.
Uh, and so, do you think that part of the success was the Renegade, the purchase that got that going, or is it? I mean, I've looked at a lot of different YouTube channels and I see some good content that has, next to no traffic. So what do you attribute that to? Just the
Well,
grinding, daily grinding, or
90% the daily grind is the consistency is what you got to do. And I mean, there's so many factors that play into YouTube in different areas is what I've learned. And I've studied and watched a lot of other YouTubers and stuff such. And no, it's the grind for sure, Jared. The 2 to 3 uploads a week for 3 years, man, and I haven't taken a break. I haven't had a week vacation. There is no week vacation in YouTube, in my opinion. You take a week off, you're forgotten, bud. Because today's generation, the youth of today, they've all got ADHD or whatever you want to call it, and they're on to the next biggest best thing, right? So unless you continuously are there and reliable source of content, I find it very hard to get into the YouTube recommended feed. You know,
hmm.
so, that you gotta work with that. You still have to introduce new content, fresh material in the way of a new bike or new sponsorship, new products, that type of thing, right? So just keep evolving, keep changing, never get stale, right? And I watch a lot of YouTubers, a ton of YouTubers, Jared, and I support a lot of other channels. And you see the shift, you see things change, and what I really started to try to do when I first got into it was not look at what other people were doing, look at what they weren't doing.
Okay.
And that's where I initially found my first success. And I think when we decided to take the jump to multicams as well, and I started to incorporate other people's views rather than just my own, you would get the feeling from his bike, his view
Right.
of situation. So you have these multiple aspects and trying to build my content a slightly different way than what everybody else is doing. And I think you could agree that over the last year or 2 years, even the amount of ATV channels that have been inspired by Austin Cruiser and such, they're spawning up like crazy.
Right.
They're when I first started watching YouTube, it was initially because of NOS ATVs and watching my brother. My my good friends having a good time and seeing what I was missing out on, right? And it quickly turned into, hey, there's Ostercruiser. Look at this guy. You know, he's capturing all these viewers and giving people the incentive and to go out and enjoy the hobby, to get into it, right? So, no, it was awesome. The influence is just crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, man, that's kind of how it all sort of started. But I know I kind of got off topic totally, Jared. And
No, man.
that
I was listening to everything you're saying, and I'm going back to watching Austin Cruiser from like I think it was probably 2011 when I first seen him. I was
yeah,
horrified, man. And before you know it, Jesus, that's fun. I gotta do that. Man.
yeah,
So
yeah, you ain't kidding, man.
that influence is awesome.
It's infectious. It's rather infectious, and I think that the ATV side by side market is growing on an enormous pace. Side by sides have really helped the industry, I think, for growth in the last couple of years for sure.
Yeah, those are just so friendly, family friendly to get out
Hmm.
and get the whole family out and get everybody involved and take your buddy and yeah, they're great.
Yeah, and I'm learning quite quickly here with the short experience that I've had with the X3 that these things, like you said, or I was saying before, in comparison, I don't know what to compare it to other than a trophy truck, which guys would spend years building in their garages with X amount of sponsors and dollars thrown at them, and they're like 80, $180,000 units, whatever. I think sky's the limit, really, Jared. I don't know. But side by sides allow you to experience a portion of that at a much more reasonable price for the average Joe who's sitting on the couch. Tomorrow he can go experience some of that, right? Hopefully at a learner's pace. But
Pretty hard
no,
to go at a learner's pace when you're packing 170 horse, but yeah,
yeah, that thing just it doesn't want to be driven any other way than full on. You know what I mean? In a sense, and it's so low geared, it feels just like you got to lay into it.
yeah,
And unfortunately, the time of year that we've been given it, we've got a couple feet of snow, right? So you probably know that if you go easing into the pedal too slow, you just kind of drop and you're stuck. So it's either crawl, pack your track, and just hammer down and go because you're in 2.5 feet of snow. You can't lose your momentum, right? So the I've only experienced driving it full out
right.
thus far, or I'd just be stuck. So
That was one thing I want to get into. You know, I turned on YouTube the other day, and there you go off driving to the candy store, Bay Marine, and he seems so nonchalant. And you know, they're just gonna hook a trailer up to my truck, and we're gonna put something on it. And how much did you know about that situation? And like, just what an awesome experience that was, man. Like, so happy when you're loading that on your trailer. I'm like, oh my god, this is cool.
man, I was freaking out and I was pretty much lost for words. And I think some of that might have even translated a little bit into it because I'm usually a pretty yacky guy. But I was a little bit lost for words when Dan was walking me around the unit and it kind of hit me. But how it all started was just basically, I'm good friends with some of the staff there and we've had many conversations over the visits over the years. And I've expressed my want to review other units, right? Like do some reviews for even other manufacturers and such, and just get some units on the channel as fresh content and get an honest review from a blue collar kind of perspective rather than a paid sponsorship perspective. And we've had some breakthroughs with that. We've been talking to some manufacturers, and hopefully something will come of that. Been working very hard on it, but they kind of just called me up there, my buddy Dan, and said, listen, we'd like to help you out on what you're trying to get accomplished, and we think we could do that by getting you out one of our demo units. So I sort of had an idea as to what was going to happen and a small heads up, but I didn't really know what unit was going to be offered up and that whole situation. So man, I was kind of blown away, man. They blew me away. They blew me away. And those guys are just honestly, they're amazing. They're amazing folks to deal with. Glad to have them there, man. I'll be buying all my toys from Bay Marine. That's
Uh,
for sure. Yeah.
no kidding. Well,
Well,
they just got you on the hook for another one there now with that X3.
you know it. They're smart. There's no way I'm gonna be able to hand this thing back. It'd be like pry it from my dead fingers here, my cold fingers. But no, man, yeah, man, they just sold me for sure.
So the other day we were just chatting there on Facebook about mods for it, and what kind of mod would you like to do? What's your first impression of that machine? Where does it lack? What would you like to improve?
Oh man, it's so hard to say that now because as a stock unit, it's unlike anything I've ever driven. You know what I mean? The clutching on it is completely different than what I've experienced from the Outlanders and the Renegades and such. Um, yeah, obviously we know it can benefit from clutching, and that would probably be definitely like we were talking about before in the first two or three things to do, right? Exhaust, you got to give that thing some sound, man. It is so quiet until you open it up, of course, because everything's right behind your head. So it's actually pretty loud. It's funny. The neighbors thought, wow, man, that thing's really quiet. And it's like, well, stock exhaust me crawling out of the neighborhood. Yeah, for sure. But the moment you get out in the field and you lay into it, I mean, you've got all that 172 right behind your head screaming. So it's to talk to the guy next to you, you're screaming, right? So but yeah, no, it definitely could go with an exhaust, some clutching, the reflash for sure, because that engine feels like it's being constrained, being held back. You know what I mean? It gets to 105, 110, wherever it caps out there so quick that I think that could be easily raised up to about 140. I don't know if the gearing comes into play, Jerry. You might know a little more about that. Um, how much you could push a unit like that in the top speed type of aspect.
Yeah,
You know more about transmission than I do.
I'm not sure of the actual what they're revving at when they're going that kind of speed, but as far as power is concerned, boost is king, baby.
Yeah, yeah, no kidding, eh?
So you throw a 5, 10 extra pounds of boost at it, and you're sitting at over 200 horse pretty easy.
Yeah,
And yeah, man, they're serious machines.
yeah, they get really scary and out of control for sure when guys are talking about bringing them up to 400 horsepower and such. It's insanity. It's insanity.
Yeah.
You almost need wheelie bars at that rate, don't you?
Well, you're gonna need wheelie bars long before that. Yeah, for sure. I think I seen a picture of you from the weekend when you already had the wheels in the air. So
Yeah, we just threw that one up there. We're coming up out of a bowl, a bit of a bowl there, and yeah, she left, and which is surprising too, because like I said, we're pounding through a foot and a half of snow there too, so that's a lot of resistance, and it's hard to get the machine up to speed to begin with, So blew me away. 172 horses just pulling up out of that hole, and here you go. You got a little wheelie going.
so let's switch it up here a bit. Let's talk about the Renegade. What have been your favorite mods on that Renegade to date?
Oh, there's so many really, but I don't know. When I got the Renegade, I I was never a big fan of the Visco, Jared. I never was. I was always kind of a grew up on the Hondas as kids and the Suzuki and the Japanese bikes and the Yamaha with the old push diff lock. That's kind of tried and true in my opinion, and you know what I mean. So the torque locker was definitely one of my favorite adds to the machine for sure. Next to probably the STM primary is
Right.
was pretty nuts. Putting that on really transferred the power to the ground. It's crazy. It's crazy to see what one thing can do in the way of performance. You know what I mean? But those guys, wow, they know their shit.
Yeah, no, and like I've done a few of the basic starter mods, like I call it clutches, exhaust, and programmers, and um, with the right clutching, exhaust, and programming, I've picked up as much as 10 horse at the wheels on the dyno. So
Awesome.
that's a huge gain when you're talking about 87 or 89
Yeah.
at the flywheel. Pick up 10 at the wheels, and it's just a totally different machine at that point.
Yeah, that's actually a mind-blowing number to be honest with you. For just those three add-ons, that's pretty crazy. And those are generally the first three that 90% of us go at, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, get the exhaust and the tuner to get rid of the lean condition that they're known for, and then go right straight to the clutch and start getting power out of the machine. So yeah, yeah, right on.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
I mean, aside from the major power difference, compare the King Quad to the Renegade. Like, which machine did you have more fun on, and just talk about the pros and cons of each machine.
You know what? I can't say that I had more fun on either. I mean, they both had their areas. Like the King Quad used to really get me going when I would make it through something that the guys were screaming through in the 1000s, and it maybe looked like they struggled at some point. And putting the 2-inch lift obviously made a made a major difference on the little King Quad, accompanied with a 28-inch tire. So I was getting close to the 30s that the guys are running off the stock XMRs and such, right? So that was enough of a rush. It was a lot of fun, man, and just getting into the hobby again. It doesn't matter what you ride, it really doesn't, Jared. As long as you're getting out and enjoying the trails, man, that's what it's all about. I think you'd agree there, 110%. Um, the Renegade, though, yeah, moving to the Twin, the whole other. The two major differences I noticed between the two bikes, and I like to refer to this, is that the King Quad, I used to ride the King Quad, and I felt like I was riding the bike in a sense of body English. The way I grew up on the old Hondas, you'd hang a leg and you'd put all your weight on the side and you'd go drift around that corner. But then the Renegade, it seems like as soon as you graduate to that 1,000-pound category, the body English no longer plays as much of an effect as the old power and the thumb. So you start to manipulate the machine more with throttle involved. That's in my experience, what I felt. Not that you don't still throw your body around and try to maneuver as best you can getting through the shit, but that's one thing I really noticed. And I do miss about the King Quad is you kind of just threw yourself around on the machine and you really felt like the rider was getting you through it instead of the machine, you know?
Yeah. Sometimes I feel in the Can-Ams, and like I'm not the world's best rider by any stretch, but sometimes it's point and shoot, and
Exactly. You either get the good line or you didn't.
yeah.
A lot of times.
But there's nothing more satisfying though, just watching the replays with the Skeg shooting 30 feet in the air, and yeah.
Just hearing it revving out all the way across and not dropping. Are you holding the RPMs or are they dropping back to the shop? Let's get the clutch out.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah, man.
So we talked also the other day on Facebook, about critics and stuff, and you were saying that I've had my share of critics too, but
Oh, I remember.
what is it with your brand? Like you're out there riding and just going to have fun with the boys. What is it about your brand that people actually are criticizing and giving you a hard time for?
We actually have been extremely fortunate that we do not attract too much criticism. I have had very, very minimal hate comments, crap like that. And to be honest with you, the biggest criticism I get is my laugh is that people can't stand my annoying voice. But then you know what? If that's the worst of it, then so be it. But as far as negative feedback, we really just don't get much, and I think that stems from us just being real lads, just real blue collar lads, just like anybody else. I work a 9 to 5 on top of this, boys, a full time job, Monday to Friday, and like I'm giving her from from start to stop, and that's a lot of what I contribute the success to, Jarrett, and YouTube. Our success in YouTube platform is just keep pounding away, just keep pounding away, man. Don't take no for an answer. Go get it. You want it,
Yeah.
you know.
And you mean you stand out, you've got the distinct laugh and everything, and you got to stand out. And I quite enjoy it actually. It just sets you apart from everybody else.
Right on, brother. I appreciate that.
Yeah. So 9 to 5 job. When you're not YouTubing, when you're not out riding with the boys, what does your life look like?
She's a grind as well, man. She's a grind as well. She's not, I into heavy equipment operations and work construction. Have for a great many years, and that's what we do. We work hard, man. And yeah, and then other than that, I get home. I try to divvy up my time as much as I can, spend as much with the family as I can, and then whatever free time. And I try to utilize, I mean, every ounce of free time throughout the day, from lunch times at work to breaks and vice versa, man, all night, staying up, going through footage, pulling pictures, posting, answering emails. Like even today was just crazy. We before I was just got off a conference call, just 10 minutes before we were supposed to engage in this podcast, and I'm like, I hate to cut you short. I got another, and but it's been crazy. It's starting to get a little bit out of hand now. It's starting to finally.
That's awesome. And
Yeah.
that's one thing that I'll say that you do really well. You get a sponsor and you promote them, and you do a really good job with the sponsors. Talk about who's your favorite sponsor to work with.
We've had so many, man. We've had so many, and they've all been so great. Probably, if I had to pick a favorite, I mean, Bay Marine, I consider a sponsor. They've helped me a great deal all the way, and they've got a, I mean, come on, hands down, it's crazy. It's hard to pick, but between them and Dirty Life has been a crazy sponsor as well, and that's because Trevor, we started out our relationship as friends and riding comrades on the trail and buddies, and he come with a concept about maybe, hey, we don't have anything too much local in the way of getting a hold of these parts, and I'm thinking of becoming a distributor, and out of my garage and starting this business. And it was like, man, if you do that, that would benefit our local ATV community so much that I will do whatever it takes and help you to try to grow. And no idea that it was going to snowball like it has, and it's turned into, now he's got a storefront, and he's sourced and now dealing all kinds of products from sponsors that I put on my bike. Like, we got Elka, we've got Torque Locker, he just keeps nailing them, Super ATV, and the more he gets, the easier it is for all of us to avoid the duties, the shipping, and all that crap from the States, and have the parts there on hand. You know what I mean? If I break an axle, I don't have to wait, such and such time. I can literally drive on down, is 50 minutes from here, and grab myself a whole set of axles that are right there on hand. So rather than being down for a weekend, you're up and running the next morning, right? So this is a big to us guys that are trying to keep up with the content. We have to have the content, but no, man, it's just so many great sponsors, yourself included, my friend. With Mud and Wheels on getting that differential on that bike. I mean, that was pretty disappointing for me, Jared, when I blew that out at 500 kilometers on the machine, and I really hadn't hit mud yet. I mean, yeah, people would say, you put on these 2.5-inch lugs, what do you think's going to happen? But we're riding in winter conditions and frozen terrain. Those tires are spinning relatively freely. Yeah, you're adding some vibration and maybe just a little bit of weight, but still a little, that's a Can-Am thing. You know how that goes, but no, man, so many great sponsors, Torque Locker, Elka, boys, and so many, man, just great people. And I look forward to promoting more products. But what I will say about this, Jared, is that all those products and all those sponsors, these people, and yourself included, are individuals and products that I did a lot of research on for a great deal of time before I ever sought them out. I wanted these things on my bike. It's not like you guys wrote me a letter or knocked on my door and said, hey, could you put this product on your bike? If I don't like it, I don't run it. I'm not even going to, you know what I mean? These are things that were kind of on my wish list. And then I went after them one by one. Let's build this bike. Try to keep it affordable. I mean, I'm a 9-to-5er, man, and I work hard for my money, and I grind, right? YouTube's not paying that much that we're wealthy, so we try to get these products. And plus, I'd be sleeping on the street. Who could blame her? I've spent 20 grand on a four-wheeler, and I can't just drop another 15 and expect my bike to stay. No problem. So, approaching a lot of these guys, and yourself included, and working together with folks and promoting products that I believe 110% in, and that is where I think we have success in promoting products, because I believe in them, man. I use them. I rely on them, man. I rely on them, and the viewers rely on them, because we got to keep that bike moving, man.
No, well, I really do appreciate that, and I've always enjoyed working with you, obviously. And again, this program isn't designed to be a self-serving thing. Just, just actually curious. You were having some water issues before that drive shaft, and I'm actually wanting your honest take and opinion on, did that solve that water issue like I thought it would, or are you still fighting it, or like?
No, actually, Jared, I think I got the only machine out of the group of all of us, and I mean, we got dozens. We got dozens of XMRs and Outlanders that are running with us, and I think my bike's probably one of the only that could say it hasn't had water intrusion on it since we put your prop shaft in there.
Hmm,
Yep,
nice. That's
yep.
interesting.
Yep, still staying clean, man. Still staying clean. One time I actually thought, I was like, oh, you know what? I think I got some, but it was, I was like, oh, I did royal purple the prior. So then the new mixed with on the next. I had a slight discoloration, but I quickly realized with the fill levels and everything that no, we never took a drop. That was the two colors mixed, and that kind of almost looked creamy, but not quite.
Hmm.
Thought I'd add that because you know what? It's just honest, man.
Yeah,
She,
well, that's
she's
what I want.
she's never leaked, buddy, and I appreciate it because it's a pain in the ass having to dump that diff fluid after every single ride.
Yeah,
And
like,
that's the way it is for so many guys who are in tune with the maintenance they have to do for the type of riding style they have, right?
right.
And there's a lot of lads out there that are educated enough to know that, okay, every time I got to check it, I got to drop it, you know?
Right.
Yeah,
Well, we're gonna try something a little different here. We want to preview one of your videos, Renegades in the Everglades, I think it is.
yeah.
And I was watching this the other day, and like the jump off point here looks pretty nuts. So just you know,
Flirting with disaster. Yeah, exactly.
well, I'll say it again, like the jump off point. So just give that, your rundown and what was going through your mind and any, you know, the fun stuff that happened. That's what I like to hear about.
No doubt. Well, in the back of my mind, I'd been warned before we even got into this place that a dozer was lost in it when they were working on the lines. They had left one in there overnight, and apparently it sunk. So it's a lot of bedrock in the area, Jared. So I know that a lot of the bottom, even though it can be silty a good foot or so, you know that there's rock there somewhere. And knowing that things have sunk in there and there's shelves in there is probably the biggest risk and makes you pucker the most. I think that factor.
Oh, yeah, the pucker thing, man. Because
Yeah,
I've seen lots of your videos where it's skeg and rock and skeg and rock, and I
yeah.
mean we don't deal with that here in Saskatchewan, but I'd be terrified to hold to the bars because goddamn no, I would find one of those rocks real fast.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Yeah. Yeah, I know this is quite the adventure, man. It's a swamp nobody's really crossed it before on four wheelers. And there's a reason why, is because the center of that channel at that time of the year, it was, we measured it on the waders and stood beside the bikes, and it was right there. You'd be breathing it in, you know, until you get across the halfway point. So we're really relying on the bikes to hopefully get enough momentum to skim a little bit, just enough to get you to the other bank was all it would take. And then, but then, of course, the other problem was there's no winch point. So once you've made that leap, you're kind of committed, right? We got to get, you got to get her out and up the other side, and there's no turning around because how do you turn a bike around in that without dropping the front end, right? So
Hmm. So is that a beaver run? Like to me, like where we are, like I'd call that a beaver run where you got the beavers dragging the logs, or is it a stream, or what? What is that?
actually, yeah, no, it actually flows through there. It's got like a little, it's a channel, a center channel, and just erosion from, I would say, spring runoff as to where everything. This is a monstrous swamp. I mean, this swamp alone is probably, at least 500 acres or more. Um, and there's a lot of runoff. It's a really low point in a really high rocky area. So it's being just pounded with water runoff every spring. And this is just what I would call, the channel that all that water just continuously flows into spring fed. So no, I wouldn't call this a beaver, although there are tons of the beaver channels throughout this swamp. And that's another thing you just kind of got to be wary of, which we kind of located them after we got to the other side. We knew we could hold on to her for, right? But Yeah, man. The first time I was in there, we tried to approach when the bikes were brand new, and I still had the cryptids on there. That was an awful, awful, awful mistake. It just wrapped the grass for some reason. It would just wrap it. And I don't know, with the lug spacing on the tires, like the Assassinators and the Intercos, they seem to just let things go easier. Um, Even so, though, I mean, this thing is treacherous. You got to stop 4 times, 5 times before you get to the other side just to clear your boots, right?
Hmm.
You know.
Well, let's roll the clip here and give us a little background on what's going on, if you can.
Yeah,
Can you
sure. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So in true ATV fashion, we coaxed Nosboss into going first, take the lead.
It didn't seem too hard, actually.
No, no, he was pretty destined that we were going to get to the other side of this swamp, and I honestly I had my reservations. We searched out a spot that we thought was feasible because I don't know, I'd say 30 yards down upstream, 30 yards downstream, it was too deep everywhere. We found one spot that was kind of suitable. It was like, okay, at the halfway point, it's bad, but if you make it over the halfway point, you're good. So at this point, it's just how the hell are we going to get your bike out? But those Assassinators, man, Super ATV, my lord. Those tires are king. Look at that. He manned that one out himself, actually. I forgot about that.
Yeah, he had just enough traction to just kind of walk it out.
Yeah, just enough bit into that bank. That's impressive, man. Yeah, and he's admiring his HMFs. He just put that full system, ceramic coated. And I'll tell you, man, I'm a big fan of the RJWC, but that HMF, there's nothing wrong with that choice either, boys. Holy
The only
wicked.
thing I don't like about that HMF is it kills your right ear. It just dumps right on that right ear and not out the back.
Has more of a drone to it. And I think you can tell with the audio between his GoPro 5 and my GoPro 5, they're both the same cameras. And you'll notice when you watch the footage as it switches, his is a bit more muffled. And I think it's caused by a bit of a drone from the exhaust system, possibly. I know it's a little lower, definitely a little lower tone.
Hmm.
Yeah,
So
so I'm screwed here, eh?
you're lining up. You're having second thoughts, I can tell. Well, maybe
Well,
not.
I'm like, son of a bitch, you made it. Son of a bitch, you made it. Now we gotta go, boys. Yeah, man. Yeah, this is, in places like this is where the STM really shines too, because the constant resistance and load that are on the tires. I mean, we're on a waterbed, right? So as soon as you hit that throttle, everything drops. It's just sapping the energy out of your machine like quicksand. So you really rely on that grip, man, and that's where I like the full primary, man. Does a great job. And there we go, eh? Just enough jam to get there.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
you gapped that one. Not full gap, but yeah. I'm always scared of either going in too front heavy,
Yeah.
or the other way. So those are always risky maneuvers for me.
Looking at it now, it's so evident that with a reflash and a little shot of the NOS, you're just going to skip across this one without any issues. You got a good, what, 18, 19 feet, and you're clear to the other side. I think you'd skip right across.
Yeah, if you could get enough momentum before you had to launch. I don't know how soft is it
Yeah.
on the other bank that
Well,
you're
that's
launching from.
that's the problem right there. Is like I said, is as the more throttle you give, the more the ass end really sort of sinks in, and the more energy is being lost in a sense. So you really have to crawl into this situation and try to build it slowly, right?
Right.
Otherwise, you lose all traction when she bites loose as well, right? Look at that grass. That's
Yeah, just wrapped around everything.
gnarly. What an adventure, though, man. That place was.
What else do you want to watch? You got another video? One of your favorite videos? Something that's near and dear to your heart?
Oh, buddy, they're all adventures, man, and great memories. Honestly, I couldn't choose, Jared. But I don't know if you got something you want to look over, or if you thought about there.
What was it the Thousand Acre Marsh, or which one was that?
That one was nuts. Yeah, that place just delivered, man. That was a great one. I'd say because of it had like a cranberry bush type of area to it, Jared, and it was football fields. And it's like, again, like waterbed feel, and you couldn't break through the mat. It was so tight that even with the 1,000 cc's, man, all it wanted to do was stand and grab, right? You
It
couldn't.
it it did take some time for you guys to peel the top off of that one. I remember watching that, and I think I commented on it, but it was such a floating marsh. I think it's a 1,000 acre marsh.
Yeah, very unique experience. Very, very unique experience, that place for sure.
So is that private land, or how did you get into there? Because obviously it's been unmolested for a lot of years to have that thick of mat on top of it.
Oh, absolutely. Actually, yeah, no, it's a buddy's private property. He owns a great chunk of it, which is cool. He's had it all staked out, and he took us out for the day. He invited us down, actually. He's like, I think I got something you boys might like to check out. And we actually we didn't go in for quite some period of time, and then we were like, you know what? Let's go check out what Buddy was talking about. And it turned out to be probably, in my opinion, one of the best rides to date. One of the most fun terrains to play on for sure. It was intense, intense.
Yeah, I know that we'd have some fun in there as well, and we probably wouldn't leave until something broke or something sunk completely upside down or whatever, because that looked good.
Oh, and it was, and it got worse and worse as we got in, and we wanted to get to this large pond because we were there in the heat of it, right? So you can imagine as the stuff starts getting in on the exhausts, you got to keep water close by when you're running skag in the summertime. That's just the way it is. The bikes will light up on fire no matter what you do.
Yeah.
So you try to get them drenched down as quick as possible, and just be mindful, check your exhaust system, all your pipes and stuff, and pull her out and continue on for the next leg. But it just got so bad that we were kind of concerned about how would we get out if somebody blew a belt at this point. Could you even, was it even possible to tow out of here? We don't have a Sherpa. So, score one for Asta there, and that's a great investment at that point
Yeah.
if you want to get to God's land, right? So
Well, I gotta tell you, we're all kind of getting a little older, and that Sherp, what that's done for us is allow us to leave our brain in the truck. We don't have
exactly.
to think anymore. We
Yep.
just, sure, we'll go and we shouldn't, but we got a Sherp here. It doesn't matter. And yeah,
Well, it's a contingency plan all wrapped into one, my friend. It gives
yeah,
that takes that whole load off because we know exactly what you're thinking and what you're going through when you're 50 miles from the closest road and you've gotten into some of the worst shit you've seen. Like
yeah,
and that's the biggest fear in all of it is recovery. At some point, the breakdowns get so bad, and like Keith experienced one hell of a breakdown with that when he got souped in there and blew the rear def out of his machine, right? So like it can be hours, painstaking hours trying to get a bike out of a hole, eh?
yeah,
Well, you definitely know.
yeah.
For sure, man.
So one of the things actually that I've been thinking about is your editing is pretty much top notch. Are you doing all that editing yourself? All the custom sounds and the title sponsors and all that? Like,
I appreciate that, man. Yeah, absolutely. It's all been done by me. I had to learn all this crap. And I mean, literally 6 years ago, I didn't have a laptop, man. I didn't do much of the internet. And so it's all been a learning curve and a learning experience for me, for sure.
uh,
But I appreciate that, man, because I've worked hard at trying to at least get a little better at it each time I do it. And sometimes I'm constrained to the amount of time that I have to work on a video. And when I do get more time to play with them, I appreciate when people notice a little more effort put in there, and usually comes back in the feedback and the comments. And that's awesome, man. I appreciate that, Jared. I really do, man.
yeah. So I think we're finally getting to the spot here where we're into the. I don't know if we're gonna peel off the
There's
top
yeah,
here too soon or not.
that's the stuff. That stuff is intense, just intense. And places like this, sometimes, this is where I do miss the King Quad, sort of. It's not for the, I mean, I love the Renegade. I can just pull it up and wheelie everywhere you want to go. But the King Quad was so light with a wide floaty tire on it, you didn't have to worry about getting stuck in this type of terrain. Like as it got worse throughout the end of the day, the skag changed. And that was the one thing that I really loved about this location was it had what I like to consider all the different grades of skag. one section of the field was this cranberry mat that acted like a waterbed, and you just wouldn't rip through. And then you'd get to the next section and you get that typical saturated skag that you couldn't ham on it without just dropping straight in and getting stuck, you know. So well, you know, the different variations of terrain and skag for sure. Muskeg.
So what would your favorite riding be? Do you like I mean I love snow ripping. No cleanup. There's even less worries about breakages in the snow, or is it skeg or trail riding? What do you prefer?
Well, it's you know I started with my favorite was just being trail riding, aggressive trail riding probably mostly, but and you know I like jumping the bike off berms and climbing hill climbing and all that. But once I got a taste of riding in Muskeg, it kind of gets very addicting, very addicting. Like you said before, watching the 2 inch lugs or 3 inch lugs throw chuck skag, you know, 30 yards into the air, and you're watching it back on film at home, and you're going, my God, these machines are just something these days. Oh, it's a rush, man. So I don't know. I like it all. I mean, but very addicted to the skag running and trying to really see what the bikes are capable of, eh? How
Yeah,
far can you push these machines to the breaking point, right?
right on.
For sure.
Well, my friend, we've had you on the line here for 45 minutes or so,
Right on.
and what I really want to do, I want to get you back on the show sometime,
Yeah,
and maybe with you and the boys sitting around having a beverage and just shooting the
yeah,
shit and telling stories and having a laugh. How do you feel about
yeah.
that?
Oh, I think it'd be great. We do a little bit of a garage feed or something like that. We get the
Yeah,
boys in the shop and get a laptop or something out there. And yeah, man, that sounds like a great time for sure, Jared.
yeah, absolutely. So,
Appreciate
uh,
you having me on, man. I appreciate you having me on.
well, this is something new for us, and I got to tell you, we had a lot of technical difficulties rolling up to this, and I was unprepared. I was unprepared for this because I was trying to sort out all the technical crap. So I hope you enjoyed your time on the show, and I hope to have you back. And wish you all the best of luck in the future, man.
Yeah, right on. Likewise, my friend. And hopefully someday we can get together for a rep.
I would absolutely love that. I don't know what your plans for traveling are, but if you ever make it out a little bit west, it would be a great time to come out with Austin and the boys and get you and the boys out here, and we would probably, I think we'd have a lot of fun together.
Oh man, you know it. You know it, buddy.
Yeah.
Right on, Jared.